Hello and welcome to our new series, JTV Instagram Live Short. This is Janette Burke, your host, and if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram. That link will be below. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, and I have with me Cheryl Armstrong. Cheryl is a book author, she's a course creator, and she runs a company called Plant Your Energy. And it's very interesting. It's all about living your best life, being mindful, going from where you are now to really intentionally where you want to be. And it's based on Cheryl's own history with 26 years of incarceration. And she's going to share how she's developed that with us today. Welcome, Cheryl Armstrong, to JTV Instagram Live Short Series. Hi,
Hi,
Cheryl.
thank you.
So,
Hi.
Cheryl, I would like to know, and I'm sure the viewers would too, how were you able to develop this program and actually live a life of intention and move away from negativity, from anger, what have you? You were incarcerated for 26 years. I know you must have it must have happened when you were quite young because I'm looking at you now and you look young. So
Thanks.
can you share a little bit, please, about your story and how you were able
Uh,
to transform your life?
Yeah, so to kind of summarize my story, when I was 16 years old, I drove the car in a crime where two people lost their lives. I went to trial for this and ultimately received a 96-year prison sentence. So, about my first 8 years or so in prison, I had a lot of struggles, a lot of guilt, shame, anger, hopelessness. I really wasn't thinking anything positive for myself, but I did have a lot of family support. And I always credit my mom with being the person who kind of really stood by my side and helped me to change the person that I am. And so I started taking college classes. Basically, I realized I was taking college classes for no reason, because when I was that young, a 96-year sentence, I felt like I was going to die in prison, that was the end. So it turned into more of me doing it for me and wanting to have a sense of purpose for my life. And I realized the more that I got into getting my education, the more that it was shifting my character and my thinking. And so over a period of 14 years, I went from getting a GED to getting a master's degree in humanities. And after I completed that, that was a significant year for me. That's also the year that the laws changed for juveniles convicted as adults. And I was incarcerated in Colorado. Colorado created a 3-year program. I was the first woman in it and the first to graduate the program. So I was granted early release in 2021 through this program. But during that period from when I finished with school and when I was released, I kind of had become the kind of person at that point where I was always just looking to level up. Like, what's the next thing that I could do? I didn't want to be defined by my worst mistake when I was 16. And I wanted to live my life to honor the people that I had hurt in my past. And so I came to the conclusion that the best way to do that is just to be the best person that I could be. And so I really changed significantly and started helping other people along their journeys while I was still inside. I just participated in teaching classes in there, anything that I could do to try to just be better. I was all about that. And so I came up with the idea for Plant Your Energy while I was still incarcerated. Started out as a small e-commerce business. I designed some t-shirts. They're still on there. I never really sold any t-shirts. And then I had the idea to write the book. So I wrote my first book while I was still incarcerated, and my mission was to get it published after I got released. I did that. And then I thought, well, what can I do next? That's just how I think. I'm always creating something new. So I developed that into a character development life skills class that I've been teaching in the Colorado prisons. Now I'm working on trying to build that and put it into other facilities across the country. I'd like to work with kids as well. But the book is really for all people that have any types of struggles internally. And throughout the book, I kind of give examples of how I navigated through that in my life.
Okay, so I'm just gonna back it up a little bit and start pulling at some pieces of this what you've been chatting about. So yes, we all have struggles, and we all have the internal dialogue that sometimes takes us down a very dark path. And I guess my question would be, what do you suggest, or what techniques do you have for taking, a spiraling out of control, going into a very negative place? Where can we see the light? Where does the positivity come in? How did even it start for you? I mean, you must have been a very angry 16-year-old,
Yeah.
and facing that at such a young age, and as you said, thinking, I'm going to spend the rest of I'm going to die in jail, right? How do you take all that anger and say, what, I'm not going to be angry anymore? What's your advice for others who are not incarcerated but angry from whatever happened in their life,
Mhm.
and to have the intention to be positive and to transform your life? Where does it all come from?
Well, there's no quick or easy answer for that, but I would say a couple of the things that really helped me to stay focused on evolving into a more positive person was first of all, if we're talking about traumas from our past or things that have happened we can do nothing about, I always tell people the more that you focus on that and you stay stuck in that, the more that you keep handing your power over to that circumstance. And do you really want to hand that power over? I didn't want to anymore. And so that was something that I would continually remind myself of to, shift my thinking. And, people always talk about gratitude, but I think that really most people don't practice it very in depth. And I had a hard time practicing gratitude, right? Sitting in prison. And so I wrote about that in the book and how I would start with just being grateful for clean water. I mean, clean clothes, food to eat, the simplest of things that you could find. In the last year and a half, even since I've been out, I've lost my stepdad, my mom, and my boyfriend all within an 18-month period of each other. So I have been dealing with a lot of tragedy out here. And now I feel like I'm alone a lot out here. I'm not, but I lost the people closest to me. And so I've had to dig deep again because I was miserable again, right? And so I had to go back to my tools and okay, what do I have to be grateful for in my life? And so I just continually tap into that because when you're looking for the good, that's what you'll find. And same with the bad. It's all about your mindset.
Hmm. Well, a lot of people do suffer in different ways.
Mhm.
And I think they might find it hard to always see the good side, especially if you're being screwed over by people repeatedly, or, just, one bad thing happens to you after another. And again, I'm sorry for your losses. Um, so when you're in that really dark place, how would you advise someone to step out of it? Like, I know you have the tools. I know you think the mindset's a big piece. You've already said that, but there's got to be something else to keep people going, to keep people to have a reason, not just for living, but for transforming. Because I think it's
Exactly.
very easy to say, I'm desperate right now,
Mhm.
whether it's financially or emotionally or whatever. They're truly bankrupt in one way or another, and they don't know what to do. So maybe the best thing to do for them is to go to the familiar pattern, or easy
Mhm.
way out, or the quickest solution. How do you avoid that?
And so that's what I kind of do in my work with people. And that's what I'm currently developing is in my communication with the people that I'm working with. I talk to them about that. I ask questions because it looks different for everybody. Everybody has different tools that they use that help them come out of those places. And so, sometimes it's reaching out for help and talking to somebody. Sometimes it's going to the gym. Sometimes it's I don't know, listening to music, right? I mean, it could be simple things, but you need to figure out sometimes it's therapy, right? It depends on what works for each person, but that's what planting your energy is about. It's about really getting to know yourself, owning who you are, all those pieces that you don't like about yourself, and then figuring out, okay, how do I lay out a plan to get to that place where, like you said, I'm not just living, but transforming, but also when I have those setbacks, what is my solid plan that I can fall back on to make sure I don't stay stuck there, right? Because those things are going to happen in our lives, like I've been going through recently, where you kind of take those steps backwards and you're struggling. And so it's just about finding out what works for you and tapping into what your bigger purpose is in your life.
And really understanding that.
Mm,
So, as we kind of near the end of this interview, I've got two questions for you.
okay.
Do you consider what happened to you in your life a gift in your transformation?
I do.
Do you think you would be here today if that experience did not happen to you?
Absolutely not. I think that my life would have been completely different than what it is had I not gone through all of those trials.
And do you think it would have been the more negative type of life?
I
Would you have
do.
gone that way? Yes.
I do.
So now you can be a great role model for other youth, or even, other youth who have maybe gone and done something in their life they regret and
Mhm,
are now in the prison system. I know you mentioned you were doing a lot of that with Colorado
mhm,
state, but there are other incidences that you also help people with, no
mhm,
matter what their struggles are. And parting words. I just
mhm.
want to give you a chance to give me some parting words before we end the interview. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody who has been in your shoes, maybe they're a youth, maybe they've been convicted, maybe they're not, maybe they're just heading down that path, what would you say to them and why would you say it?
Mm. So a couple of the things that I say to people are a lot. One of it was a quote actually that I heard when I was in my early 20s, and it just says, if you lose your peace, break with the situation. And that was always really impactful for me because I think that sometimes we get locked into circumstances in our lives and we forget that power of choice that we have, right? And we get to choose the quality of our life, the thoughts we think, the actions we take in each moment. And so I always just encourage people to really get in tune with themselves, the good and the bad parts, so you can embrace the things that you love about yourself, but you can also turn your weaknesses into your strengths. And so again, I always come back to mindset and just changing the way that you look at negative situations.
Okay. So I also want to give you a little bit of shameless promotion, as we like to call it. If you could say your website for us. Now, the website will appear along with Cheryl's social media links in the description of this episode, but we are going to mention it here as well. Go ahead and say that for us, please, Cheryl.
My website is plantyourenergy.life.
Plantyourenergy.life. Okay, well, we are out of time, so I have to say thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your story. And I want to thank my audience for being with us too today. This is Janette Burke, your host, signing off. Please remember that this is our new series, JTV Instagram live short. The Instagram link will be shown below in the show notes so you can follow us there. And we would be happy to have you share us with your family and friends. This is a special series I created for book authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, and small business owners who really have very impactful life stories to share. It's lifestyle based. So we'd love you to share us out. So thank you so much. And thanks again, Cheryl.
Thanks for having me.